How's it going, everybody? It's Matt again. We're going to talk about another third-party transformer. This time it's going to be NEWAGE twin set H66 BOMBUR and H68 BOFUR. Interesting that it went from 66 to 68. Normally it's 66, 67, or like back and forth, so I wonder what that's all about. But regardless, this is Gears and Swerve. G1 Gears and Swerve. This is the last of our mini-bots that we needed outside of Wheelie. So eventually when they get around to that, who knows. But yeah, so Gears and Swerve. Take a look at the front and then on the bottom. There's Swerve on the side, Gears on the other side, and then there's a shot of some of their other mini bots. So pretty nice. Obviously this is quite small because these guys are itty bitty tiny. They're going to be packaged in vehicle mode, which is nice. But yeah, so there's the box. Here is the instructions, you know, your normal instructions. They're okay. They do the job. But, of course, we are here to see them. So here they are. Here is Gears and Swerve. And they are very, very small. They're smaller than I thought they would be. They're actually close to the size of, like, Bumblebee and Cliff Jumper. So they're a little small. I thought that they were going to be maybe, like, the size of Brawn and Outback when we got them. But they are pretty little. But we'll just kind of look at one for now. They both, they're basically the exact same mold. There's no changes on vehicle mode at all, so there's nothing really to speak about. They're just different colors. So we'll take a look here at Gears. Little plastic wheels. They roll just fine. They actually both clean up quite nice. Here they are from the bottom. But you can't really see them too much. You can kind of see their heads a little bit down their bottom, or down on the bottom of the car, but that's just kind of, you know, how they transform. The one thing I will say about Swerve, though, it is kind of unsightly seeing the little white part here poking out from the windshield. It does look a little off to me. Not sure if I'm a fan of that, because it's definitely concealed a little bit better on Gears. But they're completely painted, of course. So of course they're very, very premium feeling, nice materials. But yeah. So, they're also going to come with, as far as accessories, I will point out that when you get them in the box, the hands are not going to be attached. They're going to be removed, and they're going to be on these little sprues. You're going to have to put those on yourself for both of them. But you're also going to get, for Gears anyways, you're going to get his little oil can hand attachment. And you're going to get just the two guns for each of them. Here's Gears. Here's his teeny tiny little gun. And then here is Swerve's little gun, very small. Set those aside for now, and we'll transform one of them. I'm only going to transform Gears. I'll do Swerve off screen because they do transform the exact same way. The thing on these guys is they are very, very tight all around. All of the parts are just like, they feel like they're not tolerance the greatest, so keep that in mind. I'm probably going to have to use tools a lot to get stuff apart. But to begin, we're going to start here at the top of the truck here. So and I'm probably gonna have to use a tool almost immediately. We're gonna need to pull this whole canopy section kind of up and away. It plugs in here and here, and this whole section is gonna rotate up on this double joint. It's actually a triple joint. It'll kind of rotate out on all three of these things here. We're just gonna kind of move that and get it out of the way. And then these parts here, where these red parts are, right at that blue section, it connects to the back of the forearm. So you're going to pull that kind of away from there to give it clearance. And then the red part here will rotate out like so. And then this section on these pins right here, this whole thing will kind of pull out and away and then rotate out and then plug into these two little parts here. Like that. So it should look like this. And then these are the hips. They're very, very tight on both of these. So it's not very fun to transform, but you move it and kind of straighten the legs out like that. And then we're going to separate the legs, but they already separated. And then this part here, we're going to rotate this at this double hinge here around, and then it's going to plug into the inside of the leg. Like that. And then there's a little double joint here which allows you to move this out and then kind of collapse it down to make the foot. So same thing here. I'm going to rotate in and collapse, and then rotate this up like that to make the foot. And then there's the little legs. So up here at the top, we're going to pull these two parts to the side on this little pin here, and it will separate from these two pegs that plug into the head. The whole thing's going to kind of rotate out, and there's a little ball joint right here where you're going to need to take the front part of the vehicle and just kind of rotate it in like this, and then turn it up like that, then kind of put it to the side like this. So rotate, turn it, and put it like this. This front part of the panel, or like what's going to be his chest, you're going to need to flip it out on this hinge right here and then rotate the whole thing around, and you can put it back down. And then the instructions kind of aren't really clear what to do with this part here, so I'll show you how to do it correctly. Just kind of leave it out like this, and then this whole section here on that blue part, there's a little hinge right there at that red part right there. I'm going to move this down, and then it's going to go like this. The head is going to move forwards like that out of the way, but it's going to come down like this, and then using this kind of armature, you want to bring it up and over this blue part like that, and that will give you clearance to rotate down on these two joints, these two side parts, and then they'll come down like this and kind of collapse underneath the front of the car. And then the shoulders here are on these little joints. They will move up like so. Everything will kind of collapse together, and then just kind of move the arms down. And there is gears. Not too bad. Something about this transformation is just not doing it for me. It's kind of weird to mess with. Like, stuff just kind of moves all over the place. It feels kind of scrapey getting the whole torso section together, and the actual like the hip parts here are so tight that it just makes it really not fun to kind of orient it back together. And especially when you're transforming them back into the car mode, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's just not fun. Something about it is just, it just doesn't feel right to get them between the two modes. It doesn't feel very new age. It feels a little unrefined. But I mean, overall, like, looking at the figure, he looks good, of course. Get a little bit closer into the face. Gears has always looked kind of funky, kind of weird, but not too bad. Of course, completely painted. The one thing that I will say that I'm not a fan of is the fact that the painted plastic looks off compared to the painted die cast. This is die cast here, and I'm actually, I don't know what that was. It was like some chipping or something like that. But the die cast is just not painted the same color. So the color match is not the greatest in the world. And while I was transforming Swerve, I just wanted to show what I was talking about here. So I just moved one leg out of the way so that you can kind of see the funky angle that you have to have them at. It's a very specific angle for everything to kind of collapse together, back together rather, for when it transforms back into the truck mode. And it's just very, very awkward to do that, especially when these hips are so tight. And there is Swerve, all transformed. We'll get a better look at him. Obviously, he's got a different head, he has a different chest panel, and he has different shoulder parts here. But that's about it that's different with him. Same thing going on here. Like, the color matching just didn't quite work out for some reason. But the white obviously was a little bit easier for them to color match, I think, because the toes are die cast on these guys. There's a little bit of like underspray on his head there, and he's got some overspray on his face, which is interesting. Now, I did get these guys right before Chinese New Year, so they might have suffered a little bit in like the paint department, just due to them being rushed out the door before Chinese New Year's. So, but yeah, there they are. And of course, they can hold their weapons in their little hands. They're teeny tiny. There's Gears with his, and here is Swerve with his. But we'll go over articulation. So for the head, you can rotate just a little bit, not much, just because of the limiting factor of the head shape and all that. He does have this little kind of like gimmick, I guess you'll call it. If you open up the chest, he has all of his stuff going on in there. I think that was something he did in the cartoon one time, so you can do that. His shoulders here are really weird. They just don't feel right because that doesn't secure. But you do have a ball joint up here in the shoulder. Just kind of have to fight against that joint there. But you can get that to move however you want it to. And the torso doesn't lock together either. It just doesn't feel right. He does rotate below or in the middle of the bicep, so you can rotate that around. He has a single jointed elbow, which will get you about that far. And then his hand is on just a pin, so you can rotate it around. He does have an ab crunch, which is nice. His hips, as I mentioned, are extremely tight, so you kind of have to hold everything while you move them, but you can get that far forwards, and you can get that far back, so about as far as you'll need it to. And then you can get out all the way. And then they rotate at the thigh, 360 degrees. You have a single joint knee here, but I guess if you want to count this panel, you can technically get a double jointed knee, but I'm not going to count that. His foot here is at kind of like a little pin right here, so you can get a good ankle tilt, and the toe here can move in and out, but that's more for just transformation. So they have all of the necessary articulation. All right, so let's do some size comparisons. So here he is with, or they are rather, with one of NEWAGE's Insecticons, because they're about the same size. Here's NEWAGE, one of their Reflector Trio bots. Here's one of their Constructicons, Mixmaster. And then some other Legend scale stuff. Here they are with Magic Square's Prowl, one of their Carbots. And I'll put Magic Square Optimus here in the back. Give you a good idea of how big or small they are. And here's a shot of all the other G1 mini bots that we have from NEWAGE. So we finally have all of them, except for Wheelie, of course, and some other odds and ends, but they don't really count towards the main line of G1 mini bots. But we finally have all of the main ones, which is really cool. Alright, so that's going to do it for NEWAGE H66 and H68. They're BOMBUR and BOFUR, or Gears and Swerve. I think they're okay. Something about them is just not as fun as what I normally think NEWAGE does. Something about the way that the torso goes together and the really tight hips and the kind of the weird arrangement that you have to get them specifically to collapse together into vehicle mode. Something about it's just not very fun. I feel like there should have been some extra little tabs or something to kind of make the torso feel a little bit more solid. The arms are kind of annoying to work with just because that extra joint that's below the shoulder just feels kind of weird. Maybe some different faces would have been nice. And of course, speaking of the faces, it definitely seems like they were just a little bit rushed before Chinese New Year, probably. Maybe that's all that went into it, just to kind of get them out before everybody goes on leave for a while in China. So it's they're okay. I'd give them probably like a good 7 out of 10. Because it is, at the end of the day, a NEWAGE product. They're really good. They're nice engineered. Their paint is fantastic on them. Well, usually perfect on them. But obviously, things going on with some of the overspray in this version. The mismatched feet on Gears does bother me a little bit. But it's not too bad. Maybe feel like maybe I'm nitpicking a little too much. But overall, they're decent little figures. I definitely feel like they're a little bit smaller than I would have imagined them be. They are, as you could see in the size comparison, they're like comparable in size to like their Bumblebee and the Cliff Jumper. They're probably about the same size-ish as their wind charger and their tailgate, but I feel like I always thought that these guys would be a little bit larger, maybe like the size of what their Brawn and their Outback is. They just seem a little too small to me. But, I mean, hey, at least we have all of the mini-bots now, which is pretty cool. So, yeah. They do have, of course, their variants that are coming out. I did end up picking up their, it was the Shattered Glass, their Shattered Glass version that also came with their, like, the GoBot Smallfoot. I did end up getting that one, so that'll come in the mail probably at some point, and I'll do a review of them as well. But yeah, it's not too bad figures. I guess I could recommend them. They're just I don't know, something about them just doesn't feel like they're up to NEWAGE's normal standards for some reason. Could just be me. Could just be my copies. Who knows? But, of course, if you like these videos, or if you like this video, rather, please like, comment, subscribe. If you like this kind of stuff, check out my other reviews. I have made a whole bunch of other Transformers reviews at this point in time, rather. And, of course, if you want to support me elsewhere, you can support me on Patreon. The links to that is in the description in my link tree. That's more for, like, of course, my 3D modeling stuff, my Armored Core model kits and add-ons and stuff like that. But, of course, it's just another way that you can support me, and I would really appreciate it. But, thank you for watching the video. Check out some of my other stuff, and, of course, I will see you in the next one. Bye.